agents are extremely powerful, but only if you know how to design them. When you design them well, 10 minutes of setup can replace hours of manual work. To get your own agent that actually works, you need intentional prompts and clear thinking, not just a task and hope it figures things out. So in this video, we'll look at the thinking process behind an AI agent and a simple, reusable prompt strategy you can apply to any agent idea to get reliable, optimized results. Let's dive in. An AI agent basically turns ChatGPT into the brain, and agent mode gives it eyes and hands. It can see what's on your screen, follow instructions, take actions, and move across your apps just like a real assistant. I spent years designing digital products, and the AI agent feels exactly like a mini product. And when you break it down, the strategy really comes down to two layers. The workflow layer, where you focus on the key steps and actions, and the details layer, where you set up the context and constraints that shape the agent's behavior. For this video, we'll use a very common productivity task, turning important email information into calendar events. It's a great example because you already know how this task works, so it is easy to see what the workflow looks like, which steps are repetitive enough for AI to take over, and where human judgment still matters. You'll find the prompt development Google Doc in the description, so you can follow along with the process more easily. If you want more experience building with ChatGPT, I also made a video where we create a small web app from scratch. It's a great warm-up if you're new to building digital products. Link in the description. Now I'll show you the reusable prompt strategy. First, we'll walk through how to build the skeleton prompt, the bare-bones structure of the agent, the sequence of actions that shapes the automation. Then we will look at what the skeleton prompt is missing and the details you need to add on top of it. So let's start with layer 1, the workflow. This is where we figure out the shape of the task, the key stages, the checkpoints, the moments where you step in, and the parts that can be automated. We'll look at this layer into two steps. First, how you do this task without AI. Second, what AI can automate inside that workflow. Step 1. How you do this task without AI. Let's anchor ourselves in the simple workflow we already know. For this task, the natural pattern is gather, judge and confirm, then execute. You collect information from emails, you pause to judge what's important and confirm the details. Then you turn that into calendar events. That's all the foundation we need. Step 2. What AI can automate inside that workflow. The key questions is, which parts of this process can the agent actually automate? We want to identify anything that follows a clear process, involves concrete steps, or repeat consistently, because these are perfect for an AI agent to take over. During phase 1, the gather phase, the goal is simple. You want the agent to collect and structure the raw material according to your preferences. So when you review it, everything is already organized. The agent extracts the information from your emails. It handles all the switching and scanning for you, reads the emails, and pulls the content into structured data. Then it can create or open a Notion page and organize everything there, placing grouped summaries into a single workplace. This gives you one clean place to review and adjust anything before moving on. Now that you're clear on the key actions in this phase, we can reflect them in the prompt like this. Help me turn important information in my emails into calendar events. Read my recent emails, extract all important information, and organize everything into a single Notion page so it's easy to review. In phase 2, judge and confirm. You naturally pause to review and clarify before anything becomes an event. This is where you design the collaboration point, when to pause, when to flag issues, and when to continue. The agent stops and waits for your confirmation. You tell it exactly when to pause so it doesn't skip ahead and start creating events before you've reviewed everything. Then it presents a clear confirmation table. This part is how I prefer the agent to work. When I do the final check, I don't want to scroll through paragraphs of extracted text. I want a clean overview, a simple table that summarizes the items I've approved. It's not a requirement for everyone, but it's a great example of how you can shape the agent to match your review style. With the key actions defined, we can now translate them into a prompt like this. Stop once the Notion page is ready. After I finish reviewing and updating the information, generate a clear confirmation table summarizing all the items I've approved. Wait for my confirmation. Once that table looks right, I can confidently move to the execution phase. In phase 3, execute, the agent takes over again. And this is the final step. After your approval, it creates the calendar events. It opens your calendar, fills in the event details, adds description, and places everything on the right date. So now let's combine 3 phases and all these actions together into something the agent can actually follow. This is the full prompt that clearly communicates the workflow and key actions. If you want to dive deeper into how to spot opportunities for agents, whether in productivity, communication, or your everyday tools, subscribe for more content. Now let's move to layer 2. To make the agent truly work in every day, we need extra details. And this is usually where things go wrong for people. They write a great workflow, but they leave out the specifics the agent needs to act reliably. So the agent ends up guessing or misunderstanding what they want. For most agents, the details fall into 4 categories: the tools the agent uses, the context it works inside, the boundaries it shouldn't cross, and the rules it must follow. So let's walk through the details we need to add. Start with the gather phase. When you look at the skeleton prompt, there are a few gaps the agent simply can't fill on its own. It doesn't know which Gmail account to read, what date range to start from, how you define important information, how to categorize emails, which project is your priority this month, or what Notion page to use. All of these missing details will make the agent guess. And when an agent guesses, the workflow becomes unreliable. In the expanded prompt, we're adding all the details the agent needs to behave correctly. I specify a date range so it knows which emails to look at. I define what count as important information: dates, deadlines, event details, or action items. I define the categories: work, life, and newsletter. I specify my main project for the month, so anything related gets highlighted. And I tell it exactly which Notion page to use. In this case, it's the inbox review page 1st December. We also add the rules the agent must follow, like flagging missing details such as dates or times, and flagging elements in the email the agent can't read, which is often attachments like PDFs, scans, or images. All of these details remove ambiguity and keep the automation grounded in your preferences. And we follow the exact same process for the next phase. On top of the skeleton prompt, which tells the agent to stop after the Notion page is ready, summarize what I approved and wait for confirmation. Here I want to provide the details for the confirmation step. I know what I want in the table and which columns I considered important for the overview. And you can see in the expanded prompt, we add boundaries that agents shouldn't cross because it helps define the scope. I only want to include work and life events because newsletters usually don't go straight into the calendar. We also add rules the agent must follow. Wait for my confirmation before proceeding, and summarize items in a table format with specific columns. Again, the workflow hasn't changed, but the behavior is now much more predictable. In the execute phase, we are locking in safe execution. The detail layer here is very small but still important. This is where we make explicit which calendar to use, and that's the final part of the prompt. So now we have the full prompt, the workflow from layer 1 plus the details from layer 2. And with both layers together, the agent finally has enough clarity to run this task reliably. Let me show you what it happens when we use it. We paste the full prompt into ChatGPT, turn on agent mode, and make sure we selected logged in. This simply gives the agent permission to act inside the browser session that's open. If you are not signed in, the agent will pause on the login page and ask you to sign in before it continues. As soon as I run the prompt, Agent mode switch into this split screen view. On the left, the agent is now inside my Gmail doing the work. On the right, it shows its reasoning, what it's checking, and what it plans to do next. In the system-generated task instruction block, you can see the agent narrating what it's doing, with lines like convert relative time references into specific dates. As it moves through my inbox, you'll notice these little black tooltips floating over different emails. These are live action markers that show exactly what the agent is inspecting. Now, here's something important that happened in my demo. In the red task banner at the bottom, you can see the agent opened the wrong Gmail account, not the one I intended, which is question forward. So I pressed the stop button and gave feedback in the chat. ChatGPT immediately re-evaluates the situation, and on the right panel, you can see it's actually reasoning. It realized the Gmail account is incorrect and decides to switch to the right one. Because I'm already logged into all my Gmail accounts in the browser, the agent can switch without needing me to log in again. And now you can see in the task banner that it's using the correct Gmail account. Once that's fixed, the agent simply follows the workflow from the prompt. For example, it reviews email from December 1st onward, extracts dates, deadlines, and action items, processes the invoiced email. While the agent is taking action, you'll also see its reasoning appear at the same time in the right-hand panel. Once it finishes reading all the emails that matches my request, it switches over to Notion, creates the page with the exact name I asked for, and populates it with all the structured information it extracted. This completes the first phase, the gather phase. Following my prompt, the agent checked all emails from December 1st, sorted them into work, life, and newsletter categories, flagged anything it couldn't read, and created the Notion page with the exact name I asked for. But there are also a few things I want to refine next time. For example, I specifically mentioned highlighting the project Smart Health Insights. The agent kind of did that, but not in the structure I expected. I was imagining it would create a heading for the project and then list the relevant events underneath it. But instead, it seems to follow the order of the emails. I also hoped the information would be presented in a more scannable format, something like bullet points. These are all things I'll be more explicit about in my next prompt, but overall, I'm happy with the result. Next is the judge and confirm phase, where I review everything and add or adjust any missing details like event times. I went through the Notion page and confirmed the times or added new ones. Once everything looked right, I told ChatGPT that I'd finished reviewing and asked it to continue. Because I included a confirmation table in the prompt, the agent now generates exactly that, a clean table with the columns I specified. And this gives me a simple, clear overview of all the events I've approved. While reviewing the table, I noticed something I wanted to adjust. The annual health checkup should be 2 hours. I didn't include that in Notion earlier, so now it's the moment to fix it. ChatGPT updates it accordingly and then moves into phase 3, execute, where it creates the calendar events one by one using the confirmed details. And here they are, all the events that came from my emails since December 1st, added to my calendar with the correct information. You can also watch the entire process happening in the right-hand panel as the agent works through each step. The whole workflow takes under 10 minutes, and it easily saves me an hour if I were doing this manually. But the real benefit isn't just the time savings, it's the cognitive load you avoid. Instead of clicking through emails and copying information, you only focus on the key checkpoints. All the repetitive, low-value actions are handled by the agent, as long as you design the prompt properly. So that's how the two-layer strategy works. The workflow gives the agent its shape. The detail layer makes the behavior reliable. Once you learn to design prompts this way, you're not just reacting to AI, you are building mini automations that fit the way you think and work. We are not looking for the perfect prompt here, but rather a repeatable structure you can build on. There will always be surprises and areas you could prompt differently, but if your base prompt is solid, everything becomes easier to refine instead of chaotic to fix. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.